Ooh, I'm back. Yeah. So, magic. Oh, I wanted to tell that Crowley story. So, look, an example of what I'm talking about, right? There is an infamous story that Crowley told himself, because he's a fucking wild ass weirdo. He essentially, and this is, me loosely remembering the story, so take it like that. But he basically groomed a younger initiate and then got him to go on a trip with him to Algeria to do a ritual and probably some other shit. You know what Crowley was into. If you don't, then look up Crowley. But don't just take his his personality as everything you need to know about Crowley, because it's a complex thing. Crowley is a complex topic. So he gets this initiate, this young male initiate, to go with him to Algeria to do a ritual, right? They're gonna summon someone. So it's a summoning ritual. I don't know if it was an invocation or a evocation. I don't know. It sounds like it was Crowley again was a wild motherfucker, so it was probably some forceful shit. Forceful summoning. But he went and built a protection circle and then built the triangle. Um, and to quickly explain that, the protection circle, that's pretty evident. It's You've seen it in movies. It's not always salt, but it's a protective circle so that if you were to summon something or to come in contact with something, it can't influence you or um, you know come into your body or you know any of the shit that you would be fearful of. And again, keep in mind that a lot of this is dualistic. So I do believe, I don't say what I believe a lot. I do believe that there are beings. I've talked about this before. And not just the ones I've talked about, not just archons and Yaldabaoth. And I believe that there's a dual. These stories didn't just come from someone trying to like hide notes to their friends. They were dealing with real beings, real topics, real beings. So that's one of the things that's been amazing to me about these particular studies is the concept of, and I write you know fiction. That shit don't exist. I write. So the idea of writing a story that has a narrative but then also has all this hidden shit in it has always been very interesting to me because I can't really make my brain do that, and not many people can anymore. If you notice, everybody's studying old text because the old text is where all the occult hidden shit is, like where all these people are basing all these things from. They build off of it, but a lot of the time it's from 15th century, 16th century, or back farther than that. Crowley was one of the most recent ones to start to build new shit, uh, completely new shit. Not completely. That was building off of stuff too. Anyway, um, so he gets this dude to go with him to Algeria. He builds the protection circle. That's it's meant to protect you. The triangle is what you build to house the entity. So when you summon something, you build the triangle and that's where they got to kick it at. They're like not locked in, but as long as they, and again, that's why I was saying that stuff about invocations and evocations, because you can ask them to come talk to you or come fuck with you, or you can kind of, and this is, I'm not saying I believe this necessarily in this way, but this is the system. Or you can make them come to you. You can make them, come fuck with you. So when you do that, you need something to, it's almost the same concept as the protection circle. It's kind of like, if you need the triangle, then that's also a protection in a way, because they can't really leave the triangle, right? I think I'm fucking getting sick. So Crowley gets this dude in the middle of the fucking desert, in the middle of nowhere, and they start doing this ritual. They summon, who'd they summon? I was gonna say fucking go look it up, but I got it right here. They summon Corazon. Corazon goes by another name, 333. So think about that when them niggas are telling you about angel numbers and shit, 333. And Corazon is the lord of hallucination. Corazon is the lord of hallucinations, right? So keep that in mind. They do, I'm sure, a bunch of rites and other shit to they probably build something. And if you know what that means, it's just like it's a procession of it's like the steps of a ritual, right? So they are successful in summoning Corazon, and one of the details that I skipped a detail. One of the details that's fucked up about this is when you build the protection circle and you build the triangle to house the entity that you're going to be working with or talking to or asking questions or whatever, you stay in the protection circle. You are supposed to stay in the fucking protection circle, and the entity stays in the triangle. Crowley, as they're doing this ritual, sits in the middle of the triangle. Other dude is in the protection circle. Crowley sits his goofy ass in the middle of the triangle, right? And the way I interpret this story is that was intentional. Like, he wanted this outcome in a way. Not all, maybe not. I think he wanted the whole outcome. I'll get to that. But he sits his goofy ass in the triangle. Corazon comes, starts making weird noises, is being very, very like, and this is, I'll get to that in a second. He's making weird noises. He's acting like a demon, He's acting like a demon or a demon lord or whatever. Take that as you will. And he's talking to this initiate that he's duped to coming out here with him in the desert in the middle of the night. And as he's talking to him, he's like getting the dude off his game, right? And by that I mean, like, if you do some shit like this, obviously, if you summon a fucking demon, you would think, I'm gonna pay attention to what this nigga's doing so that I don't get fucked up, like I don't get murdered or whatever you imagine a demon can do to you, but he's, Crowley was already like a charismatic, smart, very intelligent dude. So he's knocking this young green initiate off his game, and he's not paying attention. As he's doing that, he's wiping away parts of the protection circle. This nigga's wiping away part of the protection circle. And the dude notices the first time, and uh, you know, repairs the protection circle. But at some point, I guess he didn't notice. And you got to think when they're doing these rituals and shit, it's the magic is based on certain things. A lot of the time, it's really just you have exhausted yourself, or you've done all these specific things to yourself to where you're now in a trance state, right? So this nigga's already fucked up because he's been doing these rituals with Crowley to build whatever they had to build to get corns on there. So he's out of it. I'm surprised he noticed the first time. So at some point he doesn't notice. Crowley, aka Corazon, wipes away pieces of the fucking protection circle, and then he starts to get like aggressive. And this is from the story. He starts to get aggressive. Then he just jumps into the protection circle, and I'm gonna say, you can look up the story to get what I mean, but he brutalizes this young man in the way that you would assume a demon would. And you already know that I am adamant on talking about how, demon doesn't mean demon, blah, 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 blah. But this is a person who has gone through a bunch of rituals and is in his own type of trance state. I'm talking about Crowley now, not the kid. So he thinks he's a demon for all intents and purposes. And the biblical type, like what Christians and dogmatic religious people tell each other what demons are. So he brutalizes this kid, this young man, in the protection circle for a long time, for like supposedly, hours. But they're both tripping, basically. So it could have been 30 minutes, could have been an hour. Regardless, though, that shit sounds horrible. He brutalizes this kid, and after it was over, he's describing it, and I'm not giving all the parts of the story. If you like fucked up horror movies and books and shit like that, go find that story, because it's fucked up. Somebody's probably made a movie about it, or should make a movie about it. So anyway, after all this is over, Crowley is describing it, and he says that he didn't think that either one of them was going to make it out alive, and that he started calling it a sacrifice. So I tell that story to say this. You could believe that they summoned a demon and that it just showed up in Crowley's body instead of on its own in the triangle, or or maybe your brain works more like my brain, and you can look at the details of it and say, this nigga took a gullible initiate that he was probably already fucking, in rituals, but just anyway, and took him to Algeria, to the desert, because he had the money to do that. Did a ritual, built out these tools, sat in the middle of the tool that is supposed to hold the entity, and then just went into his own kind of trance state so he could take out his primal fucked up desires on this young man. And then just said, oh man, I can't believe we fucking made it through that. Can't believe we made it through, brother. I thought I was gonna die while I was doing that to you. And Not on. It's not. I'm not on some homophobic shit, bro. Like he did some extra shit in there. Like I said, imagine what a demon. Imagine what a gay demon would do. That's fucked up. And then he just sold it well. After that, you know, that's my opinion of what that is. Because if you notice, I didn't say Corazon showed up and then jumped into Crowley. Crowley was already in the triangle. So you skipped a step. The initiate never saw Corazon. He just saw Corazon in Crowley. And who's to say whether or not that is actually what was happening? Like, I think a lot of situations happen like that. I think that there are also situations where people probably do summon a thing. I think it's a very blurred and thin line because we don't understand how any of this shit works. We don't know where we are. We don't know why we are. We don't know why certain technologies, and I don't mean like a computer, I mean like certain frequencies. Like you can play a frequency and float a rock. Like, what is that? What the fuck is that? You don't know why that is. You don't know where that comes from. You don't know how old that technology is or if it's just built into this system, you know? So I think it's not even a toss up. I think more times than not, people are doing shit like what Crowley did in that story, which is sad and fucked up and weird. But if both people agree to do that, to be within that, I mean, that dude is, the initiate is still a victim. But nigga, you also followed Aleister Crowley to the fucking desert and did a summoning ritual in the middle of the night, and you know what type of nigga this is. So it can. There's two sides to that coin, and they look identical to me. But to me, that is the main gist of magic. And yeah, I'm being very, very like diminishing in my explanation of it. I do, if I wouldn't be looking into magic if I didn't think that there was the traditional thing that you think of when you think of the word magic. I still believe that that's somewhere. I just think that the people that can practice those things don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. They don't write about it. You can maybe go see a monk somewhere who will show you that he can float or start a fire with his hands or some shit like that. And you're starting to see videos come out, you know, on these social media platforms. A lot of them are coming out of Africa, which to me is 50-50, could be very real. I mean, that's obviously a very magical place, just generally speaking, but could also be them niggas are good at, you know, whatever. But regardless to any of that, I do believe. I believe that that is a thing. That's what I want to practice. That's what I want to, you know, not aspire to, because it's already there. This shit is already in all of us that are us. But to believe in the practice of it, you also have to look into common explanations of your mystery, of your people's mystery. And our people's mystery is that we have been invaded and heavily fucked with, like on a bunch of different levels, all the way to the level of psychologically. We've been somehow made to forget. our natural abilities. We're not taught about our real physiology. All the shit you think you know about the body and the human body either applies to other beings or does not apply at all. If they'll lie about history, then why would you not assume that the rest is also built on a foundation of lies? You don't know shit about DNA. DEA, is that's why I took to the concept of DEA, because it makes more sense. It makes more sense, plus it can be backed with text. You can find text that backs that assertion. I'm not going to call it a theory. And not just one text. You can find multiple texts in different civilizations that back that assertion. DEA versus DNA. DNA, I don't even know if that shit fucking exists. If you look at history and make the delineation of how they'll take a truth and then pervert it and then teach you the perversion, why wouldn't it be the same thing with your physiology? So you don't know that DNA exists at all. DEA has been talked about in text, and at some point it flipped and all you started seeing is DNA. Even the mechanics of how DEA makes more sense than DNA, which is junk DNA. So 5 or 3% of what DNA is, and then the rest is junk. That's not a good argument. Why should I believe that argument over the other one that has way more explanation and science behind it? And it's the common thing of, people that's been drummed into their heads. So if you start talking about DEA and you give them the explanation, and they, they'll defend the thing that they really don't even know anything about. Most people don't know shit about DNA, just in the sense of what, someone who studies it knows. Not to say, again, you don't know that any of that is true, but most people don't even know the fake shit. So why are you defending DNA versus DEA to me? If I can explain more than you know, then you should, by rule of thumb, be going on what I'm trying to tell you. But that's, whatever, another topic. I don't know. It's just weird to me. It makes me wonder if this whole thing that everyone's jumping on now with the magic and ancestor, I'll call it worship and whatnot, is all of that stuff. And I am into Gnosticism, so technically my answer is always it's a distraction, because none of it matters in Gnosticism. And it's not the same thing as nihilism, but there are some definite lines you can draw, some delineations between Gnosticism and nihilism. I think nihilism almost seems like it came from Gnosticism, to be honest. Probably did. Just a depressed person that couldn't get the Gnostic text to make sense to them. But yeah, man, magic versus psychology versus alchemy. It's semantics. It's all in what you need to get yourself there, and what speaks to how your brain interprets things. So if alchemy makes more sense to you, that's still a lot of brain shit. There is some real physical alchemy. And even some of those interpretations are wrong. People chase the Philosopher's Stone, but a lot of people know that the Philosopher's Stone is a concept. It's a symbol. of the perfect being, the perfect man, you. You can also make a philosopher's stone, a physical philosopher's stone, like this, and people even argue about that. Is it a bloodstone or is it gold? I think that's a misinterpretation, to be honest with you. I think those are two separate concepts. You can make gold, or you can make a bloodstone, philosopher's stone. I don't know. I'm not going to harp on the magic thing too much. Just, I see a lot of that, and I see a lot of people that are really struggling with the concept of, like, why doesn't my magic work? And what do I do to make my magic work? And I think that that's an important thing for people to know, so that they can understand, like, that's not what you're chasing, though. I mean, it's what I'm chasing, but I'm starting to come to the realization I'm not gonna find an actual teacher of that type of magic easily. Which makes me think, like, I'm not really gonna find one at all, because I'm not gonna put that much effort into trying to find, like, a witch in the wood, or, a monk. Because even then, I think if they were real about their shit, they would make you drop everything to go exist with them. And that's some heavy shit. I think, though, if I did find that, I would go. Pretty positive with that. Not forever, obviously, but for as long as it took to get these lessons, you know what I mean? I don't know how long this one's been going, but I also wanted to talk about, I was listening to this dude talk about UFO shit, right? And that's also getting pushed a lot. And there's a duality to that, too. Because a lot of people are talking about, like, UFOs and UAPs and all that bullshit. And there's certain aspects of that are not getting talked about. Like, there's a very heavy dogmatic presence in that area of study. And by that, I don't mean the people that are studying it, even though there's a lot of that for some reason being crossed. Specifically, like, Islam and Christianity have really crossed streams with fucking UFO shit. I think Islam was kind of, or parts of some Islam. I think it's more like the NOI than Islam itself, with all the mother planes and all that shit. But yeah, there's already some dogma shit there. But what I mean by that is, like, there are stories of people summoning what they would consider to be UFOs by meditating. There are people that make assertions that you can do rituals to bring aliens to you. Like, it makes me even more so, because this is already kind of a belief of mine, but even more so, hearing these people talk like this, there is a much smaller section of people that really, really, really do the full work into researching that shit. Not just, government secrecy and all that Indiana Jones shit, but they really do research, and they come to the same thing that I come to, which is, like, if you pay attention to some of these experiencers' stories and shit, these things aren't just like, and I think a lot more people are kind of smartening up to this, but, like, there are many of the UFO situations where people can't disprove it, or it doesn't seem like it's as fake of a story or whatever. The craft can shapeshift into, like, a being, like a walking, talking being, or flying, creature or stuff that doesn't exist even in the realm of like cryptids and SCPs, creepy pastas and all that shit. Like, I think, and there's like a small faction of people that believe that that is not aliens. That's just something that was created. The concept of that was created to fuck with you. Because there are things that are older than that do all of the shit that they talk about aliens doing. And let's say if it was a trickster, like a trickster god or a trickster deity, or a genie, like a disagreeable genie, all of those things could also explain lots of the shit that you see outside of like let's just skip over the fucking government cover up, all that goofy shit, because that's like more like a show. That's like the X-Files. They're giving you all the X-Files in real life, and a lot of people are kind of falling into it. And it is interesting, and I will watch, videos, or not long ones, but like shit I see on Instagram and stuff. I'll watch a clip to see, like, is that one real? Is that one something? But most of the time, what people should be asking themselves is, if that is a real concept and they're that intelligent, why the fuck would they let you see them if they're not ready to talk? And then once you think about that and you realize like the government has technology that resembles a lot of the shit that people think are UFOs, why would it not just be them? Like, just be them. Because it's the same government it's the same association like NASA. NASA fakes all their shit. And so after a while, once people start to get like wise to that, don't you think they would have a plan to move on to? Don't you think they would have something that they would progress to? You think they're going to keep just talking about space travel and not actually going anywhere? Or do you think that, like, because they can't go anywhere, but do you think they would be working on the next step to keep people mesmerized? To keep people paying attention to them and giving them their money and shit that really, they don't need your money. It's a show. But the money part feeds into another thing, the subjugation and slavery shit. It's all the same people. They all have jobs within that, though. Like, when you get higher up into the planning and the budgeting and all that bullshit of this particular like society or civilization, like they all have jobs to do within the production, because this is it. All that shit is a production, literally. They won't tell you that all of it is, but they'll tell you that the pictures and video they show you, that shit's fake. Well, not the video. They still pretend that shit's real, but the pictures for sure. They admit that those are composites of data, like I said before. So if people look how many people are talking about how fake all that shit is and how NASA is not real and blah 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 blah. They see that too, right? They see that. So and that's not new. So once they started to see that shit, and really I don't even think it's recent. I think a long time ago they started to see people really picking apart the moon landing and shit like that, and they're like, oh fuck, we gotta get started on this Star Wars project, because that's what that is. It's got a name, Star Wars. The same goofy ass shit that everybody likes to watch and quote from as if it's like spiritual spiritual fucking text or whatever. It is based off of spiritual text, though. He just ripped off some popular archetypes. But That's on purpose though. Like the Star Wars project is involved with like getting you ready to believe Blue Beam, getting you ready to believe in the many technologies and hologram type shit that is going to be used to try to dupe people into giving up their power further. Please save us. Please save us. We're all fucking dying because they'll kill you. They will kill you. Just because they'll kill you doesn't mean that shit's not fake. That's why Alex Jones got in trouble, because he didn't make that distinction. He just said blah 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 was fake, and he was right. But niggas did die. You need to make that more clear. Like, hey, condolences. I know that people really passed away from this thing, but it was orchestrated. This was not, this was planned, and this was executed by shadow, government people, whatever. He didn't do that. Or at least he probably did do that. That nigga's smart as fuck. But they didn't present it that way. They buried him with that whole thing. But just because something's fake doesn't mean that they won't kill you. That's how you put on a good production. If you were going to do like a real life reality show, it's in your best interest to not give a fuck about killing some people, because that sells it. I just watched that Squid Game competition show, and it fucking sucked because they wouldn't even they didn't even have fake guns. And if you watch the original Squid Game and then you watch the competition one, the reality show one, that shit was weak. That shit was weak as fuck because they weren't even trying. It was like completely different from the source material. The source material was fucking monstrous. That shit was brutal. And then the competition show was hand-holdy and, just, oh, we all love each other. We just want the money. Like, I don't know. I couldn't connect with that shit. Anyway. Yeah, I think it's not something where I don't believe in phenomena or whatever the fuck you want to call it, because I do. But I think that the real stories of those things, you're not being told those. And you can find some, but they're not easy to find, and they're not like, it's not most of the time on video. Though I think that there are some videos that are floating around that are real. I think it was fucking Conscious Juice, had a video of two like really tall blue chicks in dresses walking into a facility. And you gotta take video with a grain of salt now, because AI is being fully unveiled. It's always been there. Some of the shit that you saw from black and white video times was AI. That shit was fake. But people can't say that to each other because you have been conditioned to believe that this iteration of AI, this capability that AI has now, is new, but it's not. It's not at all. I think there are some movies that kind of spill the beans on that shit, like Manchurian Candidate, shit like that. But if you understand that technology gets hidden like that and used for fucked up shit first, and then slowly released to you to then try to sell it to you, and it all works together. Social engineering. So it's hard to tell with video, but this video that Conscious Juice posted, I'm pretty sure it was him. If that's fake, man, that's a good fucking job, because that was most videos. If you can find my comments on other people's shit, most of the time I'm like, that shit is fake, bro. And then I say why, and a lot of the time I don't feel as though I'm off, but with this one, that shit looked real as fuck. It was very, It wasn't creepy. It was actually kind of I don't know, exciting. Because I'm bored. I'm ready. I'm not bored. This shit is just dumb though. Either let's get this fucking moving, you know? This inching along shit is annoying to me. It's annoying and it's weak. It's weak that we're letting this move on so slowly. Because there are more of us than there are them. They just have us believing that there are not. And I think that it's still very, very possible to move this shit along faster, forcibly. You know, and that's not to say like promote any like violent shit or anything like that. Though I do believe if you fuck with me, I got the right to defend myself, and you can take whatever you want from that. Because aren't you getting fucked with right now? Haven't you been getting fucked with this whole motherfucking time? You know, take from that what you want, but yeah, to take it back though, like we really don't know shit about all that UFO alien stuff, but there are a few people that are like, you think that there's just aliens, but these are interdimensional tricksters. I remember someone said that very specifically, and then it made me think of DMT and how when you take DMT, you talk to these clockwork elves and all these other dimensional beings and shit, and how they give you the knowledge and all this other stuff. And it's like, are you sure that that's who that is and what that is, or is that someone fucking with you just like they fuck with you on this side of reality, dimensionally? You know? It's not discernible. It's not, you're not going to get confirmation of what it really is, but you can definitely not let yourself fall for the very first explanation. Because the shit that's being pumped out to everybody right now, for anybody that is actually into that alien shit, like, you know, as a hobby or just you've been paying attention to it, I used to draw pictures of aliens when I was a little boy, like when I was a kid. So I've been into this my whole life. It is weird that they're pushing this on everybody so hard right now, all of a sudden, just because they want to, or because someone said, hey, you gotta let them know. That all that shit sounds goofy. And if that's the case, why are these specific, like, real investigations where things make way less sense than the stuff that they're disclosing in these congressional hearings? Those don't get talked about. The shit where niggas draw a bunch of sigils and aliens, so-called aliens, show up, or so-called craft that can turn into aliens, that can turn back into craft, like, those don't get talked about at all. Not even by the people that swear up and down they're on some alien shit, like MUFON and you know, Billy Carson, and or I won't say Billy Carson. I think he just has a lane, kind of. He maybe knows about this type stuff, but there's DARPA. You know, there's all these people that pretend that they used to work for these companies, but then they don't talk about shit like this. They just say the same shit that all the people in the government are saying. So it's like almost like they got a second contract, like, hey, you just retired, we're gonna take care of you for life, but now you can talk about these themes. You know, we want you to talk about these themes. Just keep them thinking that what we tell them about all that stuff is true, but make it seem like we don't want them to know. Because there is still some shit that is not permitted to, you know, be as prevalent. Like, a lot. And the slow trickle thing is just strange. It's like they'll give up certain stuff, but not other stuff. Like they're starting to talk about Bigfoot and starting to see little clips of teams of scientists talking about how they found the remains of, or the DNA of certain beings, and some of them had human DNA and some of them didn't. And I'm just I'm suspicious of anything that comes out directly, because for the longest, people that are into this shit have been like, why don't y'all tell people about at least the stuff you do know? And then all of a sudden, not only are they, making it look like they're telling people, but they're like busting you over the head with it. You can't turn and not hear about some UAP shit or some, you know what I mean? So that just interests me. There's no discernible difference between the angel talk, like the Enochian angels and demons and all that shit, interdimensional demons, interdimensional aliens and angels and shit, and aliens. It seems like it's the same. When you get a story that is more believable, or not, it doesn't seem like there's something attached to it, like it really did happen to somebody. There are lots of stories about people that are like, no, I didn't do any of it. It morphed from an owl into a gray and then into a ship. But those aren't the stories that get shared. It's all cattle, cattle desecrations and things like that. And even those, like, some of that's some craziness, because the physics of what they do, like, you take 3 cows and stuff them in a room the size of 1 cow, that, I believe, was something crazy. If you can take 3 cows and stuff it into the square footage of 1 cow and not leave any evidence of moving them, that's some crazy shit. But then there are other situations where it's just some government niggas testing out some new technology. Or a fucking psychopath that is just really careful with how they move. Like, it's weird to see that also. It's almost like the production, the government production companies, the CIAs and the DIAs and all that shit. It's like they're stepping it up because there's like a you see me talk about the finale a lot. I think that has to do with that. Like, if you are aware of Project Looking Glass, they do have a belief. They have a belief that there is a finite timeline and that they saw something that they can't get away from. And I don't know about that specifically, but it does kind of seem like, a ramp up of fake disclosure mixed with real disclosure. Maybe. I don't even know if any of that shit is actual. It seems mostly to me like technology that they have. Not saying where they got it from or got the plans from, but a lot of it's like Tesla and shit. It's not aliens, it's fucking Tesla and shit. He did say he channeled it and stuff, and I believe him, because where the fuck did you get those plans from back then? But yeah, I don't know. I would like to find more stories of these blurring of lines where someone like does a specific prayer or ritual and then aliens show up, or they like, because it really does to me seem like some trickster shit. And not just saying a word, I mean literal trickster gods, like trickster fucking deities just fucking with people for that loosh, baby. To get that loosh, brother. You know? Because it is all loosh. It's all that. If you scare the shit out of a person, I don't know if it has more value to them than to make them, like, laugh a bunch. It seems like fear is, like, more scrumptious to them. But, it does seem to be that, though. I feel like, yeah, I know you've seen one of those depictions of the nigga that's got like 200 pictures up on a wall, like not at all organized, with a bunch of red yarn going from picture to picture. That's what my brain is like. Because I think all this shit is connected in a way, and I think there's a way to make it sync up, to make a narrative that is closer to what is actually than all the stuff that gets pushed on you to believe. I think that's a big part of why I study, why I read, and do all of the shit I'm doing. Because I want to answer the questions that I've said in these videos a bunch already, but also I would like to solve that puzzle. Because honestly, I think I already kind of get it to an extent, but the details of it are where you get lost. The details are where you can't make the confirmation. The basis, the foundation of it is based on your experience and noticing things. That's how it starts. You have to notice some shit. And then you start drawing delineations between shit that maybe some other people don't. But just gonna keep trying to I'm gonna keep putting pictures on the wall and get some more red yarn, you know what I mean? Yeah, man. I think that was all I wanted to talk about. Can't remember. Yeah. I don't know how long this one is, but I think next time I was talking to a homie and I told her we were having conversations about like weird secret society like when they try to get you, because I guess we both kind of have like loose experiences with that. Mine is a little more in depth, I think, because she said her uncle cut that shit off before it even had a chance to like be anything at all. But I played in this band, and it got to a point where I think we were propositioned. And I say I think, but I know. We were propositioned. I told her I would talk about that. I may come back and just do that tonight, but I think my brain is tired. You know what? Last thing I do want to say or ask is anybody very suddenly the water at our house smells like chlorine. Like you can turn on the sink in the bathroom and the shit smells like chlorine, bruh. And that's the water, you know, obviously that we're showering in, even though I got a 20 stage filter on the shower. But the sinks though, you know what I mean? The bathroom sink and the kitchen sink. It doesn't smell like chlorine in the kitchen sink, but I keep thinking that's because it's not an enclosed space like that. I think if it smells like that in the bathroom, it smells is probably all of the water. But I'm wondering, does anybody else's water smell like fucking chlorine? Because that started up a few days ago, and fucking skin's drying out, headaches and shit for the past like 4 days. Really trying to see in real conversation if anybody's noticing some shit about their water, because that would be the first, not the first, but that would be a recent thing that I've seen that get talked about in the media that I would have first-hand experience of. Water getting fucked with. But at the same time, they say that they do treatments on the water every once in a while here where I'm at. Either way, that's fucking weird. Like, I don't really think anybody should be ingesting fucking pool chemicals. You also seeing that? Oh, it's definitely got fluoride in it. That's not new at all. But you can't smell fluoride. That shit is a whole other conversation, man. People won't even believe you when you talk about fluoride. Fluoride ain't even good for your teeth, nigga. You strip pipes. You strip pipes with fucking fluoride, nigga. Like, why would putting that in your body be a good idea, you know? But this is different. I'm talking about chlorine. Like pool, it smells like pool chlorine. And it just started a few days ago. I don't know. And since then, I have felt not great. Skin fucking up, peeling and shit. Fucking my skin up. I don't know. I just want to see if anybody else has noticed that. I think more than likely it's just where we're at, because they said they treat the water, quote unquote, whatever the fuck that means. That probably just means the water's so dirty they gotta put chlorine in it, which is fucked up. But we all finna be in that, even if it's just here for right now. I mean, there's already been a few places where they went at the water supply in front of everybody. But yeah, that one I do want to know. So if you know, anything going on with your water, fucking hit me up. Comments or DM me or some shit. I want to see what's up with that, because it seems like it's not a small amount. If it's enough to affect me like this, a few days worth of headache, straight up, like pretty much straight. It'll let up every once in a while, and then it comes right back. Dry skin, super dry skin, peeling. It's literally like if you swim in a pool. It's like I've been swimming in a pool, a heavily chlorinated pool for like 4 or 5 days. My eyes, that feeling that you get when you swim too long, when you're having so much fun as a kid, and you swam for like 3-4 hours, and then you get out and you can't really keep your eyes open. It's like that. It's like that. And it's been, my eyes and my head, it's been like that for the past 3-4 days. Shit's fucked up. And I already got fucked up skin, kinda. I got dry skin. I don't have fucked up skin. Actually, I didn't anymore until this happened, though. Because I fixed my diet and shit. This shit's finna go off, bro. I don't know if I'm gonna be back.